Hey there, it's the Thursday edition of the Morning Buzz here at 90.3 WMSC, and thank you for joining us for our 11th official episode of the fall semester. Leave whatever you experienced behind yesterday, whether it was a great day or a bad one, and start fresh and positive with us. Hello, Crystal.
I was muted. Good morning, everyone.
We also have our news contributor, Emma, as well as our sports contributor, Tommy, with us as well.
Hello.
So
It's
how
a
are
good time to have them?
this is super random, but guys, what was your first thought that like popped into your mind when you woke up?
I want to go
Super
back
random.
to sleep.
You want to go back to sleep? All right, besides that.
Well, Emma, you can go first.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think I was just sort of processing my dream because I was like having a weird dream, but I don't remember what it was. So
That happens to the best of us. How about you, Tommy?
Well, I know we spoke a little earlier, but I actually had trouble waking up and quite trouble sleeping last night since I am sleeping with my dog. So she's sleeping now, so she's all good.
She's a cutie. I guess
Mary Jane is her name.
What's her name?
Mary Jane.
Mary Jane. I like that. So my first thought was that I also had a pretty weird dream. I was dreaming that I was married to someone I didn't want to be married to, and I had to go through with it, and then I just escaped afterwards. And so that was the first thing that like just popped into my mind. I don't know. I feel like I feel like throughout the day you kind of forget what you're thinking about when you first wake up. And it kind of irritates me slightly. So I just wondering if you can get that out of the way for the day beforehand.
Actually, speaking of that, I have a little connection to that. I'm actually taking a class that's involving like dating, marriage, and all that stuff, sociology of the family. It's a gen ed course.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting so far.
Yeah, more respect for gen ed courses. All right, so let's get into the show. Emma, what is going on in the world of news for today?
All right, so to start, President-elect Joe Biden named Ron Klain as his White House Chief of Staff. This is Biden's first administrative appointment since winning the 2020 presidential election on Saturday, and Klain has been very critical of the Trump administration over the last 4 years. This is some good news for environmentalists. The New Jersey single-use bag ban has been signed into law by Governor Murphy. This law will apply only to businesses with over 2,500 square feet, and businesses will have until the spring of 2022 to implement it. And unrest continues in Hong Kong as the Chinese government has condemned opposition from Hong Kong, where all pro-democracy leaders have resigned following the dismissal of a few of their colleagues for being considered threats to national security. And it will be wet and dreary in Montclair today with a high of 63 and a low of 43 in the evening. So quite a jump there.
Yeah, you are seeing that jump in temperature. Oh, fall. Oh, there's so much fall.
I know you love it, Kaya. I know.
We have a bittersweet relationship. Let me just say, no, Ryan, fall weather is not the best weather. It's our morning bus producer like talking in the chat. You know what? It's a wet and dreary day, which means what exactly, guys? Study day.
Yes.
You know, we're all approaching finals soon. I just found out.
Get me started.
Yeah, I literally found out that I have a second midterm that I need to complete for my Planet Earth class. Yeah, so I have 2 midterms and a final in a paper. I don't know.
That is insane.
Have you guys ever heard of a second midterm?
No.
I think
How is it a midterm?
A long time ago, but no.
I don't know. I honestly I don't know what you would call it. Midterm 2.0.
How's the second midterm? But our morning bus producer said procrastination day because it's raining, and I 100% agree. But I'm not going to procrastinate, but I'm just saying that. It's raining, it's gloomy outside. That's kind of like the mood it sets. It's going to be inside, relax, watch a movie. Something.
Yeah, I wish.
Well, ideally, but you know, us college students have responsibilities, so that's definitely not going to happen. But
that's so true. So true. Tommy, What's going on in sports? What are this week's sports updates?
Okay, so we will kick off with today's Sportscast with Week 10 of the NFL season. Wow, Week 10 already. It's the battle of two arch rivals in the AFC South. The Tennessee Titans, who are 6-2, lead first place, will host the Indianapolis Colts, who are currently standing second place with a record of 5-3 in tonight's Thursday night football showdown. The game will begin at 8:20 Eastern Time on Fox. Last night in the NBA, they have reported that 9-time All-Star Russell Westbrook's time may be coming to an end for the Houston Rockets as he actually wants out from the team. Reports came out last night indicating that Westbrook and his teammates James Harden had expressed concern about the Rockets' direction for the future. This led to a trade from Russell Westbrook. James Harden is still committed to the Houston Rockets despite Russell's comments leaving on the team. And the New York Mets have re-signed right-hander Marcus Stroman on a one-year deal that is worth a total of $18.9 million for the contract. Stroman confirmed on Twitter that he was super excited to return to the team in 2021 and was excited to play for the new Mets owner, Steve Cohen. And to close out today's 2-minute sportscast, Cincinnati Reds pitcher Trevor Bauer captured his first National League Cy Young Award last night, becoming the first Reds player to win the award, while the Cleveland Indians pitcher Shane Bieber won the American League Cy Young Award last night, becoming the first pitcher since Clayton Kershaw in 2014 to win it in unanimous fashion. And that concludes your quick sportscast for today. Back to you, Crystal.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you very much.
It was good to have you on the show.
As always.
But moving right along into
thank you guys. Have a good one.
Bye, Tommy.
Bye-bye.
Moving right along into our MSU event segment, there's always events going on each and every day, both virtual and in person. This one is going to be virtual. It's called Leaving the Nest, Dining Etiquette, Personal and Professional. It is today at 2:30. It is online. And the event's description is both in personal and business settings. Your dining etiquette leaves a lasting impression. It's not just about which fork to use or elbows on the table. Proper manners, along with preparation, consideration of your guests, and even appropriate conversation, all add to a successful dining experience. So, if you're interested, it's today at 2:30, and then tomorrow I like this one, and if I was on campus, I would definitely check it out. It says, Grab and Go Bath Bomb DIY Kit. It's going to be on Friday. They're gonna have 2 times, one at 4 p.m. and one at 6 p.m. And basically, if you've ever wanted to make your own bath bombs, here's your chance. Each student will receive 1 bath bomb DIY kit that makes 6 bath bombs. Wow. Choose any one of the available scents. They have a couple of scents. And yeah, the kit comes with all the written instructions and all the supplies needed to create your own bath bomb. So it could be a nice little project if you're not doing much in the weekend, which I don't know why you wouldn't, because you're a college student, but that is the event going on Friday. And of course, these are all events you can always find in your email if you're more interested in knowing more. I always look at the Keeping in the Loop, I think it's called. And they kind of give you the rundown of the events during the week. So if you're interested.
I'm still replaying Crystal's wow. Right in the middle.
I was kind of surprised. I was like, wow. I was really surprised. I wasn't just saying that.
The bath bomb screams skin irritation to me, but it definitely looks like a fun project.
Right? Even if you don't use them, it'll just be like a fun little get together, safely, social distance, or just do it by yourself and FaceTime your friend. There you go. Boom. Problem solving.
Exactly.
And that's a great point there, Crystal, for keeping safe and social distancing. I do want to make a little PSA. Here at Montclair State, we did have a small outbreak of cases at one of the recent events. So please, for those of you who are on campus or willing to go to these events, it's fine to go to the events. Just make sure you are staying safe, wearing your mask properly. That means wearing it over your nose and mouth, social distancing from your friends, at least 6 feet apart as CDC guidelines state. And we'll get through this pandemic together. Just a fun little PSA.
No, absolutely.
I was going to say something, but...
No, what do you want to say, Crystal? You have to say it now.
He was like, oh, we'll get through this. And then I was like, will we? I don't want to be negative.
No, we will, Crystal.
We will.
We will survive. Yeah.
We will survive. Oh, I like the song.
I love that song. So yeah, absolutely, Ryan. And if you do see something on campus, make sure to say something. We all want to make sure that, and this is your New Yorker Metro PSA where you've seen the trains. But it does apply to this situation. We want to make sure that everyone is staying safe so that we can have events like this. And also, I'm going to plug our own event because you guys are so interested about what's going on in WMSE.
Yes,
hopefully.
Please tell us, Kaya.
So we're going to have a Friendsgiving, and this is a Thanksgiving event, which is themed by the Friends TV show. And
Nice.
it will be on Wednesday, November 25th at 8 p.m. And we're going to be doing a Kahoot that is kind of like a trivia for the Friends TV show. We're going to be doing a who's most likely to do what to kind of grill and roast the student management team. And we're going to do some other great things like Zoom Pictionary, and it should be a really, really fun event. We had a great turnout for the last two ones, so this one should be awesome too.
Are there prizes for the Cahoots? If not, I'm not participating. No, I'm kidding.
No, there aren't prizes this time around. Our budget is sort of like deteriorating now. So no, unfortunately, there won't be any prizes, but the prize is a friendship and gratitude.
Pass.
We're all, wow. We're all going to go around. Obviously, Crystal's banned from this event. We're all going to go around and say what we're thankful for. So that should be some fun Thanksgiving traditions. No, of course not. Crystal, you should come.
I might. This sounds fun, especially since it's Friends themed on the show. I love that show.
So I'm going to have to do a lot of Friends catching up. And we did tell our members to make sure to catch up on the show so that they're good with the Kahoot. And if we do end up doing a skit, that they would just kind of understand what's going on and impersonating the characters. So Crystal, for our first story, we're entering the world of coronavirus. So tell us what's going on here.
Of course, coronavirus. And I wish I had better news, but it is getting tough out here. The U.S. has surpassed 1 million new confirmed coronavirus cases since the start of November. And many of the cities in New Jersey are imposing regulations and guidelines as cases in New Jersey continue to rise. It's been since November, a whole bunch of regulations and guidelines have been coming out for different cities. So I try to get a little bit of everything. In some parts of Newark, more than a third of people have tested positive for COVID-19, prompting a mandatory curfew. Yes, we are back with the curfews. Residents living in zip codes 07104, 07105, and 07107 are now being told to stay inside after 9 p.m. on weekdays and after 10 p.m. on weekends. Visitors are also temporarily banned from nursing homes in these hot zips. And yes, if you remember, this is kind of like the beginning back in March. So fingers crossed it's not the same thing. A couple weeks back, Newark had actually imposed a citywide 8 p.m. curfew for non-essential businesses. But it was not alone. Hoboken also imposed certain regulations. Earlier this week, Governor Phil Murphy signed an executive order that imposes new restrictions on indoor dining and bars for Hoboken. Executive Order number 194, which is effective starting today, actually, will not allow indoor dining between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. at restaurants, bars, and lounges. Outdoor dining, takeout, and delivery services may continue past 10 p.m. Casinos must stop serving food, drinks at 10 p.m. All bar side seating will be prohibited. Restaurants may place taps closer than 6 feet only if separated by barriers. Individual fully enclosed dining bubbles may set up for outside use. All interstate games tournaments involving indoor sports up and including the high school level will be prohibited, but college and professional sports will not be affected. But again, Governor Murphy is not alone. Governor Andrew Cuomo has set new restrictions on New York's restaurants, bars, and gyms. They will close at 10 p.m. each night beginning this Friday. And I know it's a lot of information, but basically, I don't want to jinx it, but this is kind of what we saw back in March. And I'm really hoping that we don't go like a complete lockdown and stay at home and don't go outside type of thing, and we all start fighting for toilet paper. We definitely don't want to do that. But it's getting tough out there. I'm going to be honest. We're seeing, like I said, 1 million new confirmed coronavirus cases since the start of November, and it's only been 12 days. How are we feeling? Emma, I know, definitely jump in here because I know you're quarantined right now, so.
I am, yes. So my sister has tested positive for the coronavirus. She's okay. She's just very tired. So she's been isolated in the attic. And the rest of my family has been quarantining at home. And the rest of us seem healthy. No one has any symptoms. So that's the good part. In terms of all this, I think it's important because things are getting out of hand, unfortunately. And I think that the more just restrictions we do now, the less we're going to have to do later, hopefully. I mean, it really depends. I know that a lot of officials are saying that we're really in for it the next couple of months. So we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. I'm not particularly nervous because the two things I was afraid of have already happened. My grandma got it, she's fine too, and it came into my house and we're all fine. So, but that doesn't mean that people shouldn't be careful. Please respect people's comfort levels, especially if they're high risk. And I think that's the most important thing right now. Yeah.
And please wear a mask because
yes.
I cannot stress this enough. Like, okay, so I want your opinion on this. When you're outside and you're walking in the open air, do you or should you wear a mask? Or it's only when you're like enclosed, you can't be 6 feet apart?
I think it depends.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think it depends what scenario you're in. So for instance, if you're in a suburb in New Jersey where there has been an uptick in cases and there's no one around, not even on the other side of the street, then I feel like, in my opinion, I would take my mask down for a breather. If I do see someone on the other side of the street, I would put my mask back on. If I am at campus, I would keep my mask on the entire time unless I'm drinking a beverage. In the city, I would keep my mask on because the city is always buzzing with people, and you never know if someone there's no such thing as personal space in the city. So someone might just bump into you regardless of COVID or not. So I think in the city, I would, for precautionary reasons, wear a mask. So it really depends what situation you're in. But of course, it's always recommended that you wear it at all times.
Yeah. And I also think, like, for me, because I live in a suburb, so normally when I walk my dog or I go out, I don't wear a mask. But because I was exposed to somebody, I don't care if there's anybody. If I leave this room, I have a mask on, whether it's in my house or it's outside, because you don't know. And it's just better to be safe than sorry, really.
Yeah.
Sorry, Crystal.
I completely agree, Emma. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I feel bad that you have to be quarantined. I know sometimes it can be a little difficult. I remember at the beginning when everything was going on, I got really sick, and I don't think it was COVID. I think it was just me getting sick. But I was in my room for like 2 weeks, and it was not a good time. So I wish you a speedy recovery, you and your sister. You're okay. You're just quarantined, but your sister.
Yeah, I'm okay. I don't have my test results back yet, so I could be positive. I could just be an asymptomatic positive. But I'd much rather have that than have symptoms. So yeah, but thank you.
Yeah, we wish your sister fast recovery, and just keep us updated and let us know how you're doing because we care about you very much. Our precious news contributor.
Yes, what are we gonna do next week if something happens? I mean, nothing's gonna happen to you.
Happen. All right, Crystal.
Sorry, that took a turn.
Crystal's on panic mode.
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm just seeing these numbers go up. We're starting with curfews, and before. You know what? I don't want to get into it, and I'm not going to jinx it. But yes, as I said, this Friday, New York is having their new restrictions are going to start being applied. 10 p.m. the close off time for restaurants, bars, gyms. And New Jersey today starts Governor Murphy's executive order. So,
and I would like to remind everyone that the CDC and scientists did predict a second wave around the flu season, right? And as colder weather starts setting in, and that also pertains to how Montclair State In terms of dorming, a lot of students are opting to move back home after Thanksgiving or before Thanksgiving break. Due to the flu season, there was 2 optional move out dates because of that. So just to prepare for that situation, and as the colder weather sets in as well. So this is, this is, as you say, like with colder weather, right? You always hear like from your parents and such that like the bacteria doesn't die in the air, So yeah, with the colder weather, it is going to be a challenge in terms of COVID. It seems that COVID will kind of thrive on the colder weather, but as citizens, as humans, as antivirus people, we have to make sure that we're taking it very seriously. We're wearing our masks, we're taking the precautions, and that we are respecting those around us that may or may not be high risk. And you cannot just guess just by looking at someone at first glance, right? So just in my opinion, if you are outside, try to keep it in your mind that and everyone around you could be high risk. So just always have that idea in your mind so that you're just more conscious of how you're acting outside too.
Absolutely. And to kind of wrap up our talk of coronavirus, I'm going to be doing my part by wearing my mask and, social distancing, washing my hands, etc., etc. But for my birthday, which is in this month, I'm not doing anything. So I need everybody to thank me because no, I'm kidding. But yes, I am
Crystal!
a little sad.
That was so self-deprecating. Well, I'm not going to be doing anything for my birthday. Well, everyone's going to thank me. Crystal, if we have to throw a virtual birthday party for you, we will.
I'm going to come on to next week's show and I'll be like, it's my birthday. So the show is going to be only about me and of
Crystal
me.
takeover.
Exactly. Crystal's, what is it? How old am I turning? 22.
22.
Yes. So, and I forgot to mention, Tommy told us, our sportscaster told us this is 21st birthday is on Thanksgiving.
Wednesday.
No, our Friendsgiving, during our Friendsgiving. So, yeah. With that being said, Kaya, what's our next story?
A lot of Scorpios, right?
They're the best.
They're emotional. So moving forth, in terms of coronavirus and other issues, world leaders are talking to Biden about the virus and about other things. President-elect Joe Biden spoke with world leaders on Thursday about cooperating on the coronavirus pandemic, climate change, and other issues. Even as President Donald Trump's refusal to concede complicates the U.S. post-election transition. In his conversations with key Asian allies, Biden seemed intent to push aside Trump's America First approach and reassure his contrasting perspective and plans. Biden spoke to the office of the South Korean President, Moon Jae-in, said Biden during a 14-minute call that they had, reaffirmed U.S. commitment to defend South Korea and that he would closely coordinate with Seoul in a push to defuse a nuclear standoff with North Korea. Biden also expressed his desire to strengthen the U.S.-South Korea alliance and stated that, quote, it's a linchpin of security and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific region, end quote. Biden also praised Moon for South Korea's anti-virus campaign, discussing cooperation over the global economic recovery and the country's mutual interest in strengthening democracy. And this is said according to Biden's office. As for Trump, he did complain about the cost of stationing 28,000 U.S. troops in South Korea. A cost-sharing agreement expired in 2019, and the two sides have thus on failed to agree on a replacement. But according to the South Korea's Yonhap News, and this is Biden saying this ahead of the election, he vowed to strengthen the alliance rather than, quote, extorting Seoul with reckless threats to remove our troops, end quote. Moon's spokesperson said the leaders also agreed to possibly meet soon after Biden's inauguration on January 20th. Moving on to Australia. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison invited Biden to Australia next year to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the country's shared defense treaty. Morrison said he and Biden during their call made it very clear that their commitment to strengthening the bilateral alliance. Biden said he's looking forward to working closely with Morrison, quote, on many common challenges and very similarly to South Korea, the COVID-19 pandemic, and guarding against future global health threats, confronting climate change, strengthening democracy, and maintaining a secure and prosperous Indo-Pacific region, said, end quote. Over in Japan, Japanese Prime Minister Suga said he and Biden reaffirmed the importance of the country's alliance again. And as I'm reading through this news, we're hearing the recurrence of the term alliance, and agreed to further deepen their alliance in the face of China's growing influence and North Korea's nuclear threat. Biden's office said the leaders, quote, spoke about their shared commitment to tackle climate change and the U.S.-Japan alliance on the cornerstone of their prosperous region, said, end quote. Suga also told Biden that Japan wants to pursue a free and open Indo-Pacific vision. And this vision promotes the like-minded countries in that region that are sharing mutual concerns about China's growing influence and power. China has built militarized man-made islands in South China Sea and are pressing to take control of Japanese-controlled Senkaku Islands called Diaoyu in China. Although China has denied its expansionist approaches, and they said in return that they're defending their territorial rights, but this is not playing with the Japanese prime minister and the like-minded countries around Japan. Suga said Biden gave him a reassurance that Washington is committed to protecting Japan's territorial rights to the Senkaku under the Bilateral Security Pact in case of military clash. So, guys, we are hearing a lot about the term of alliance. We're hearing a lot about the topics, global economic recovery, China's growing power, North Korean nuclear threats, a lot of climate change. And these are big topics that are being discussed between world leaders and Biden. How are we feeling about this?
Good. I'm a big climate change person, so that's exciting for me. But that being said, I guess this is also something that I will be honest about, I am not well versed in. But I think it's important that we have good relationships, especially in places like China, because it's true. I mean, they are becoming a lot more, they're going to be more influential than us within the next few years, which, I personally don't have a problem with. It's just how it's going to be. So I think it's important that we stay connected with them and have a healthy relationship so that, we have a good relationship with who is the most power, I guess. I don't know. Again, I don't know a lot about this, but so I think that's important. The last thing about, I think it was the islands between Japan and China. I don't know a lot about the situation either, but I think it sort of sounds like it's not our business, but I'm not sure. So I don't know if you have any more information about that.
So just before I actually begin, I just want to give everyone a quick disclaimer that our discussions about this topic does not reflect the overall opinion of the station, just of our own. In terms of China's growing power, you're hearing a lot about China moving forward and pushing further on Hong Kong. And China, as said in the article, China is trying to push its territory into Japanese-controlled islands as well. So it seems that China is a threat to surrounding countries. In terms of the relationship with China, that was not disclosed in this article. However, you are hearing about South Korea, Japan, these Asian countries that are, it is in their business of China, because China is directly impacting their plans and just their, so that's kind of what the premise of the article is that there are a lot of threats happening right now, and these world leaders are talking to Biden about it, and it seems that Biden is on board with everything, which is it's a huge contrast from Trump's America First attitude.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, going off a little bit of what Emma was talking about, it's definitely a topic, our relationships with foreign countries, definitely a topic that I should probably learn more about. But since it doesn't really not that it doesn't directly affect us, but because it is with foreign countries, you tend to kind of put it in the back of your head, right? Like I feel like there's so many issues that are currently affecting American people that's kind of what we're focused on. I mean, myself included. But I will say that it's true based on what I have been reading for the past couple of days since we, you know, it has been announced that Joe Biden is the president-elect. I think that, he himself has said that during press conferences that from leaders from foreign countries are reaching out to him and I guess trying to either amend or, continue a relationship that they've been having with him since he was a vice president for the Obama administration. And that may have been lost during Trump's administration. So definitely, I think it's always better to be in alliance than be enemies. Well, just on the little information that I have, I will say that it's looking like it's going to be a good administration. Good relationships is always good. So I'm glad.
I would also like to, because I'm an international studies minor. So for me, like international studies is like it's very important to me and I travel a lot. So I think that all countries are interconnected and there are, the threats of climate change and COVID-19 that affects us all, right? And those are issues that you need all countries ideally to be on the same page for, right? And in terms of foreign policy, right? You know, it is important that the United States keeps a strong relationship with outside countries because in any case of any threat, that alliance could mean like the life and death of an issue. You know what I mean? Like it's very important that all countries are on the same page. And I think as college students, we should be more aware of like what's happening in other countries because there could be social movements or just like just really tragedies too that we could all learn from, and that's the procedures and the politics and this is like whatever the procedures and politics are in other countries as well, we can always learn from that and we can take from that. It's not like it's just hands off type thing. So that's my personal take on it. I'd also like to ask you guys, so we're seeing Biden's commitment to repairing these international relationships, right? Is this kind of like some kind of foreshadowing thing as like when Biden steps into office and like what do we think we're going to be seeing big changes with Biden stepping into office as well? And this is a huge question. I realize
Loaded one
that.
for sure.
But this is just of our personal opinion.
It's a good question though. It's a good question. I will
It is a
give you
good
that.
question.
And I feel like it's a question that everybody has been thinking. And I think that's just basically, well, I was gonna say whichever your political views are, but then again, I feel like not really because I feel like the Biden supported Democratic supporters are kind of really looking like a hawk, like just waiting to see like what is he doing, like what was he, where are all the promises that he's made, so and I feel like even people specifically for our age group, I've seen on social media on Twitter, about the student loans and the pandemic and all this good stuff, like what are you gonna do, like this is what you promised, I'm gonna hold you accountable, which is good. And I was really trying to pull it up right now, but I basically read this article. It was more like an Instagram post where they were kind of saying like what Biden's first couple of, you know, order of business that he needs to do. And it was like obviously the pandemic was one of the first ones. Just very vaguely off the top of my head, I know that he wanted to reinstate the DACA program, which is for undocumented kids that were brought into the United States. And I can't remember the rest, but that was just one that kind of affects my group of people. So I kind of remembered it. But I know there was like a whole list of things that he is already like in the works of doing. So which is looking promising, I would say.
Yeah, I think that is a great question. I definitely think that right now it's hard to tell because we don't know what the Senate is going to look like yet, and I think that's like a really crucial part of it. Although I do know it's down to Georgia, which probably means it is going to be more of a Republican Senate. I don't know if that's like what people are guessing, but it's just what I'm guessing. So in that respect, it might be hard for him to get some, different policies out there and really make a difference. But at the same time, I think a lot of what, and this is just what I've seen, like my people I know who voted for him, they wanted a change in sort of the attitude of the administration for social justice and stuff like that. So in that respect, maybe he can bring out more of a inclusive, I guess, attitude in our country. So I think maybe he has the potential to change that, but in terms of like actual policies, I'm not sure yet because of the Senate. So
yeah, absolutely. And that was something that, my dad and I were discussing because, just seeing the fact that we're going to have a Democratic president, but at the same time, you've got 50 to 46 seats in the Senate of just, Republicans kind of in majority in the Senate. And in Congress, the Democratic Party holds the majority of the seats. So yes, you're gonna have two parties that are forced to work alongside each other. And through this election, we saw a great, huge divide. And it was like, if the Democrats were like, well, if you're a Republican, then, you're bad. And then Republicans were like, well, if you're a Democrat, then you're bad, and hopefully, I don't know why I said that in kindergarten language, but hopefully, this will actually force both parties to reconcile, shake hands after this election and work together. And you're talking about your friends that voted for Biden trying to look for that and expect a change of attitude in the administration. Hopefully that change of attitude could be across not only just the president, but also the Congress and Senate as well. And just moving forward with just my opinion on the crazy question that I asked, I think it's only fair that I answer it myself as well. Biden is treating the climate change as existential crisis, and to me that's super important. He, in the presidential debate, he said that he actually grew up near a chemical plant in Delaware. So he's very aware of the health risks that pollution pose on public health. And I recently did do a climate change package for our Focus Democracy news coverage here at the SCM. And I learned that New Jersey holds the most Superfund sites in the entire nation. So climate change really will affect and has already affected those Superfund sites. If you got flooding or hurricanes or wildfires, that can take those harmful chemicals and spread them to surrounding areas. So to me, I think it's a relief that, Biden is treating this as an existential crisis, and hopefully he will follow through on that promise. And my international studies, self is excited to see that he's having these conversations. But again, this is all preliminary.
Right.
It's all preliminary. These are all just conversations.
Absolutely. And I will say, I love having international studies person among the group. I feel like you get to really share some insightful information with us. And I know that we have to move on to our next story, but I have to ask a question because I've been itching to ask, and Emma, answer me very quickly. How do you feel I know you live, and for those who don't know and are listening, Emma lives in Pennsylvania. And as we know, Pennsylvania has been in the news almost every day. It's been talked about, the ballots being counted, fraud, all these words have been thrown around. So Emma, how do you feel being a resident in Pennsylvania, and especially one of those states that really had a very powerful impact on electing the president?
So I'm going to out myself and sort of my political views, which this is just my opinion. This is not the opinion of the station. But I was extremely proud, especially of the Philadelphia area, because the last couple of ballots that came in and completely switched the state to blue came from Philadelphia and Delaware County, which is where I live. So to make it short and sweet, I was very proud.
Nice. And that's great. I'm happy your people really, or the people you live close by really showed up or your community.
Yeah.
Is the best word.
But yes, bringing it on to our next story, New York City 911 that New York City 911 calls will look very different. And many will say, is this a step in the right direction? Mental health workers will replace police officers in responding to some 911 calls next year in New York City, Mayor Bill de Blasio announced Tuesday. According to Fox 5 New York, the test program will be rolled out in 2 neighborhoods and will give mental health professionals the lead role when someone calls 911 because a family member is in crisis. And I know that this has been like a huge talking point for, racial justice and, just basic human rights, especially for the Black Lives Matter movement, and basically that a lot of the people who have been killed either have suffered from some type of mental health, not all but a few. And I think this is a great initiative. Do we not?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I don't know, I forget how, I think it was a few weeks ago, there was a man killed literally 2 minutes away from my house in Philadelphia. And he was having a mental health crisis and he was killed. So it was definitely, I like to see that because I think it's something that could have been prevented. So yes, I'm very happy that this is happening because I think it could start to shift sort of the issues that we're having right now with policing in this country. I know not everybody has issues with it, but I think people who are upset will be happy with this change, and hopefully what New York is doing will spread through the country and we can start to implement some change. So yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, and right now it's just in 2 neighborhoods, but I guess I'm gonna go ahead and say that maybe this is like a trial test to see if it's kind of gonna work out, like maybe in terms of like how much is this gonna cost, how is this gonna work, just developing a plan, and maybe perhaps we can expand this all across the United States. I know our morning bus producer said in our chat, this is an awesome change. Now all 911 responders are trained in personal and family psychology. And he's right, and I think that it's not only going to work in favor of the person who may have or are having the mental breakdown, but also for like the police officer, just so because you have to really look at it both ways. And I know it's always like a conversation, it's not very black and white, absolutely it's not, but it's definitely going to be, the appropriate people are going to respond to it, and that's what's important. So
And this is a trial too. This is they're testing it out in 2 neighborhoods right now to see if this is actually going to be as effective. And in my personal opinion, I think this is amazing. I think this is like revolutionary. Uh, you know, the the responders, right? They're like, the people on the phone when you first like dial in 911, they're the first responders. They're the one that like you're contacting first. They're the ones that need to like dial you to they're the ones that tell like the police, where do we get you, or the ambulance, you know what I mean? So, and also just seeing like just talking and easing the person, or even just understanding how to how to react and how to respond uh, and handle an emotional, just like people emotionally in a psychological way as well, is super important as well. Because again, it is a matter of life and death. If you can react and respond to someone who is mentally ill, or even just in panic mode and just in crisis mode, and the senses and emotions are off, and they're just panicking, to be able to ease them and to guide them in the right direction, I feel like that is a matter of life and death, because it starts from that very second that they call in. So I think this is revolutionary, and I'm really excited to see how this turns out and what the response is like.
100% agree. And I'm a little shocked, and maybe it's just because it just happened earlier this week, but I'm a bit shocked that it has not gotten as much attention, because I think it's very like, it's wow, it's like a really like a wow moment. I remember when I saw this late last night, I was like, wow, this is like this is kind of interesting. Like, this is kind of like what people have been like fighting for, which is kind of amazing. So yeah, I'm surprised it didn't get more attention, but maybe just because it's in two neighborhoods, maybe because it's small. But regardless, we think, or at least I think, it's a great initiative, and I cannot wait to see how it plays out.
Hey, we're bringing attention here on the Morning Buzz.
Exactly, you heard it here.
you're gonna hear all the important and all of the relevant and timely and significant stories here. We're gonna bring attention to important matters, and I think this is an important matter as well because we are all Hamilton crazy, right? In terms of the Hamilton musical, it's engraved in our culture now. And there's actually new research that sheds light on Alexander Hamilton actually being a slave owner. So, yeah, there has been, and
so sad about this.
I mean, but this is, once again, this is me not coming into the article yet, but like, once again, it was a colonial period and it was, it was just like a mass thing. So I'm not shocked about it, but I am shocked that Miranda, this whole creator of the musical, decided to just leave it in regardless. But of course, we can discuss that later. So there has been multiple references that are made in Hamilton that talks about his abolitionist plans in the musical, but there is a new research paper that challenges this popular image of Hamilton as the abolitionist founding father, citing evidence that he in fact was a slave trader and an owner in himself. So there's this woman named Jessie. I'm not going to even dare to pronounce her last name, but she is an interpreter at the New York State Historic Site. And she wrote in a paper published last month explaining that, quote, not only did Alexander Hamilton enslave people, but his involvement in the institution of slavery was essential to his identity, both personally and professionally, end quote. When Hamilton married into the powerful Schuyler family in 1780, slavery was very common among the New York State's elite, and more than 40 people were actually enslaved in the Schuyler's family Albany mansion. So this is just one of their estates. And the historic site there has been extensive research done on the historic site and into the family's so-called servants, and they actually hold tours in the Albany mansion as well. So they're actually informing those that attend as well. So their biographers actually noted that Hamilton helped legal clients and family members buy and sell slaves. He has been less clear on whether it's been less clear that whether he actually enslaved people and slaves himself. A Harvard law professor and historian, Annette, tweeted that this is a fascinating article. And it reminds us of the ubiquitous nature of slavery in the colonial period and the early American Republic. Alexander Hamilton as an enslaver broadens the discussion. And end quote. And yeah, Reed, I completely agree with you. There was actually a biography about Hamilton called Hamilton that was published in 2004 by Chernoff. And Chernoff actually noted that Hamilton's work with the Manumission Society to abolish slavery in New York and defend free blacks when slave masters from out of state tried to recapture them in the streets of New York. But, Jessie did say that it would have, actually Chernoff said to Jessie that it would have been a lot more effective if she did go beyond just debunking myths and talked about some of the things that he did in favor of abolishing slaves. So, Jessie herself said that, quote, and this is like kind of her reasoning behind, also inspiration behind releasing this information in this new research. She says, quote, the truth revealed in Hamilton's cash books and letters must be acknowledged in order to honor the people he enslaved. She writes, though understanding and accepting Hamilton's status as an enslaver, the stories of the people he enslaved can finally take their rightful place in history, end quote. So this is like, when I saw this, I kind of like my mind broke and my jaw dropped. And I'm like, but Hamilton. You know what I mean? Like we're just so programmed to think that Hamilton was this, great person. And like, yeah, he did some great things in his lifetime and he is a founding father. And, I really was holding on to the fact that he was like an abolitionist. And I feel like that's what made me more inspired, and just honor him more, through just like watching the musical and learning more about him through that. But this is like a whole 360, 180 math.
I see you stressing, Kaya. It's okay. Take it all in. Take it all in.
I'm just damn.
I have to say, so my dad works at Independence National Historic Site in Philadelphia. So I like grew up with these people. Like he read me books about all these people, and I always went with tours on him. So all the founding fathers, like that's been a big part of my life. So I was very sad to read this, but if I was gonna be honest, I am not surprised. Only because, I mean, my dad has said from the beginning, he was like, nobody back then, none of the founding fathers were really good people. He said, except maybe Benjamin Franklin. Alexander Hamilton is not as bad as some of the other ones. I mean, Thomas Jefferson he's bad. But so I'm not super surprised, but I'm also really sad. I think it also goes to show like how you really, really, really have to read and be very aware of everything that happened back then, because there's so many different things that you have to collect. My dad's in the process of creating a new exhibit for the national park, and there's so much information to read. So the whole thing with Lin-Manuel Miranda, not like sort of ignoring that and putting in the whole abolitionist thing, I think it's important just to kind of make sure you're really reading and make sure you know what the truth is as much as you can. And I know it's hard, but
AP News actually reached out to Miranda and asked for him to comment, but through his publisher, he declined to comment on this.
Yeah. So it's a mistake everyone makes, but I don't know. I'm kind of like, oof, you could have avoided this, dude, but it's all right.
But I also like to mention that, to give Miranda some credit, he did say from the start that he's not aiming for historical accuracy in the musical. But does this fall on Miranda's shoulders now? Like, should he be like modifying the script now to take out any mentions of like his abolitionist plans?
I would argue yes, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree. Absolutely. If you're gonna tell a story, tell it right, or at least don't lie about it. Or to me, it sounds like a little bit of lying, and that's just me. But my personal opinions. But if
my personal opinions,
yeah. But yes, if you are not going to, if you're gonna omit the truth, then at least don't take it to the completely opposite, like side of abolishing. But that's just me.
And right. Before we go to break, I just want to say this too. I think, oh my God, I totally just lost my train of thought. What was I going to say? Oh no, never mind. Okay.
No, it's totally fine. I actually also wanted to ask you guys this last question too, is that will this actually hurt the musical?
No, I don't think so. Oh, I remember. Okay. So like you said, I know that Miranda said he wasn't so worried about it being historically accurate, which I think is fine. The order of events is wrong. Nothing really took place in New York City back then. That's just sort of like, because it's on Broadway. I don't have a problem with that. Like, that really doesn't change the story necessarily, as in, the important stuff. But I do think him owning slaves is important, not just to his story, but like the woman said, it's important to honor the people who were enslaved. So I think that's a different thing. Anyway, sorry, had to go back.
And his abolitionist plans, right? Him being like, freeing slaves, right? That was like the whole premise of Hamilton, right? He used that multiple times in the musical to be like, hey, I'm here for everyone. You know what I mean? Like, I support everyone's rights. And I feel like that's so deeply engraved in the musical that like, I feel like it's not a matter of historical accuracy anymore. This is making the musical right. You know what I mean? And it's the framework. And it's like, if the framework is based on lies, then it's like,
wow, this is a big
Lordy Hamilton, come on. We had a Hamilton trivia night. You're all excited.
Are you ashamed now, Kaya?
No, of course not. But I hope that Miranda will take this research seriously and possibly decline to comment, because they're currently working on something right now. And if he does revamp the script because of this new research, then I will have even more respect for him. You know what I mean? Because then I lose it. Goodbye. Satisfied. I can't blame the Schuyler sisters, but I'm kidding. Anyway, guys, this is kind of a heartbreak for me. I'm not gonna lie. This is very new, and we're actually going to talk about some TikTok stories, as well as more holiday stuff coming up after the break.
Is a friend or loved one's gambling problem affecting your life emotionally, spiritually, or financially? Do you yourself take a toll on the people around you due to a gambling issue? The effects of problem gambling are far-reaching. They've come in many different forms and grow with technology. At 800 Gambler, we invite you to have the conversation. Chat with your family member, speak with your friend, or have a talk with yourself. Is a gambling problem affecting your life? Visit 800gambler.org for access to a new video, various programs, services, and resources for disordered gamblers, their friends, and or loved ones. We work to educate the public and provide aid to anyone who needs it. Always know that if you reach out, you will be met with compassion and understanding from our team. We're here to help you in any way possible. 800 Gambler. We offer support, treatment, and hope. We're just a phone call or click away. This message sponsored by the Council on Compulsive Gambling in New Jersey, the New Jersey Broadcasters Association, and this station.
You're listening to 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair New
Jersey, one, Jersey, one, Jersey, one, Jersey, one.
Attention, attention. Thank you. Now, we all know why we're here. Every November, these inconsiderate Americans slaughter our brothers and sisters for their Thanksgiving feasts. And for what? And for what? To fill their stomachs? How many of our brothers and sisters must die for their holiday? How many? Tell me! It's time to fight back. We can't be subjected to this anymore. We've got to gather our numbers and... Oh no. Run! Ah! From all of us at 90.3 WMSC, happy Thanksgiving.
Hey listeners, if you love our content on 90.3 WMSC, you can follow us on social media to stay updated on our radio shows, sports events, giveaways, and so much more. You can follow us on Facebook at WMSC 90.3 FM, Instagram at WMSC Radio, and Twitter at WMSC. So we hope to see you on our social media platforms. Thank you from all of us here on 90.3 WMSC.
All right, now we're cleansing our palate, and we're back after this break here at 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair, and we're talking about TikTok, and this is actually a good thing. So TikTokers are creating safety calls to help protect women and kids in dangerous situations. So there's this new trend that surfaced, and hopefully it lasts longer than a trend, and it becomes a regular, but they're basically people that are doing mock FaceTime calls of a worried friend suspecting that you're being followed. And they're basically just saying prompts like, for instance, "Hi, how are you?" And then you would respond. And then they'd be like, "Oh, are you serious? Someone is following you right now? That's super insane." And then you would respond to that. Like they would give you a couple of seconds to respond, and it would sound like an actual real life phone call. And this is supposed to make anyone feel like if they're in an unsafe situation or if they're being followed, to feel more secure. And hopefully by responding to this prompt, these prompts that someone is recording via TikTok video, it will hopefully scare the intruder away if they hear that there's another person on the line. And this was all, these videos were all made by Christy Bloss, which is a 31-year-old musician and mother of 2 children from Florida, who created multiple TikTok videos of the safety calls. And she explained that, quote, "This definitely made me feel safer," end quote. What do you think?
I love it. I love to see it. But I did want to mention that I'm pretty sure, I'm like 85% sure that she's not the only one. She's probably made like a bunch, but she's not the only one who has made these type of videos, because I've seen them from like other younger people. But definitely, I love it. I love to see it, especially because, you know, I have a lot of friends, but sometimes they all dub my calls. And so this is great if I'm ever in a situation like that. So high five to her.
Yeah, save the video.
I love it. I have a bunch saved already. So
you do?
It's great.
So you guys
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's amazing, and there's a lot of people that responded to Bloss saying that, like, you literally saved my life and I feel so much better now. Like real life instances where people actually use these mock calls and help them in these worrisome situations. Yeah. This is a good thing. This is a good thing on TikTok. This is one of the reasons why TikTok should be banned. But so what are we celebrating today, guys? Before we end the show, obviously I'm going to give you an entire reel of holidays, because if you think today's not special, if you think today's procrastinating day, you think wrong. Today is something you need to celebrate. For instance, we're going to start off with World Pneumonia Day. Pneumonia is the single biggest infectious killer of adults and children, and it claims the lives of 2.5 million in 2019. So according to the statistics of the global burden of disease. And World Pneumonia Day provides an annual forum for the world to stand together and demand action and raise awareness about the effects of pneumonia. So it's a really, really great cause. Moving on to the weirder holidays, we have National French Dip Day, National Pizza with Works Except Anchovies Day, and National Chicken Soup for the Soul Day. And this is all holidays that hopefully here at 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair we'll be celebrating today.
After you said the Pneumonia Day is a great organization, but I was gonna say pneumonia is not that great. Not that I've ever gotten it, but I've gotten bronchitis, and it's not a good time. But with that being said, I think I'm looking forward to the National Chicken Soup for the Soul Day. I'm gonna have some chicken soup. I think it's the perfect weather.
That's what I was gonna say. The chicken soup is a good day for that.
Honestly, I don't know what French dip is, but I think I'm going for French. I want to try out French dip. And I don't like anchovies, so I'm totally down with a national pizza. And of course, with World Pneumonia Day, is it a crucial holiday? And I actually have people in my family that suffer from pneumonia. So it's just important to raise awareness. And as you see every week, there's always a very important cause, whether it's health related or whether it's whether it's socially related, that just raises awareness on important concerns and issues. And I think we should do that. But yeah, I want to try this French dip.
Me too. And with that being said, this concludes our show. Are we sad? No, because we will see you next week. And if you want to hear more from the Morning Buzz, you can tune in tomorrow morning for George and Leslie. Thanks for tuning in. This has been WMSC Upper Montclair.
See you guys next week.